Have you noticed that things on the world stage seem to be getting really bad lately? The world seems to be going mad with extreme right-wing rhetoric making its way into our daily lives. The threat of war seems to be escalating in Europe. The consolidation of power to a single individual seems to be happening in the US. AI keeps slithering its way into many parts of our lives where it doesn't belong, to name a few things I could mention, but the list is quite long. It's getting very easy to lose yourself in the constant influx of depressing news on social media, and we as furries are not immune to it in our little slice of the internet, especially when it comes to LGBT-related news. Headlines seem to scream disaster and catastrophe, but it's not the whole story. But I am not immune to this either. In the last few months, I have written 2 separate scripts for 2 long-form videos, one being on my trip to Las Vegas FurCon, which was amazing by the way, and the other about how lots of Western governments seem to be introducing digital ID schemes all at once and how dangerous that is. The former I postponed because the undertaking would have been massive. The latter would have just added more fuel to the fire. We don't need more videos on how bad things are. So I'll just surmise the second video here. Internet censorship bad. Use a VPN. There are better options out there than traditional VPNs, such as Tailscale. I don't want to make a video that depresses people. That's the last thing I want right now. But it's naive to think that I can just tell people to think happy thoughts without any substance or context. So that's what I'm attempting to give here. A few months ago, I went to a convention in the UK called Core Elements, and whilst I was there, I got to meet Sam Fenneh. You might recognise the name as he's the one who, along with his wife, created the Satellite City series on YouTube featuring characters such as Lucy Lacemaker, and recently he also released a book called Amygdala. I spoke to him about his book, and he said something to me which really struck me, besides how damn charismatic he is. I popped the question, which a lot of people at this furry con were wondering, are you a furry? He explained that even though he's at a furry convention, he doesn't consider himself a furry, and the reason why he has a lot of furry-esque alien characters in the fictional universe he's created is because humans are too tribalistic. He felt that trying to tell a story where a human is from a certain place, has a certain real-life creed, can make people create swift judgments about their character because of tribalism, and he didn't want that. I agree with him. There's a lot of that sort of tribalism in the world right now. People make judgments on their neighbours because of where they come from, their creed, their skin colour, their gender, their sexuality. But if you remove the human aspect from this, it forces you to look and learn about the person before you can make any sort of judgment. A lot of problems we are dealing with are being caused by tribalism and division, throwing each other into categories which isn't fair. We keep giving labels to people and make entire judgments on their character purely because of one opinion they might have in this political climate. Now, a big point of contention right now in Europe is the escalating war in Ukraine, and it might be easy to assume that Russians hate the Western world and its democracies. But I have met several Russian friends in VR chat who are very sweet people. Now take this person for example. He's from Russia, but pretty much every time we meet in VR chat, he showers people with compliments and makes small talk and he hangs around with us. He's a very sweet person and he harbours no hatred for any of us at all. He's full of love for his friends. Russians are not the only ones, however, that are being fed propaganda to try and divide us. It's happening at home in the UK right now, where the anti-immigrant sentiment is growing. A lot of problems that we're facing in the UK are constantly being blamed on minorities. Those doing so are using it as distractions to distract us from the real causes. The same thing seems to be happening in the US. So it's very hard to be optimistic when all this dividing, tribalistic rhetoric is being shoved in our faces 24/7 by the news. So why is this happening? Is there any substance to it? Is the world really going to hell? I can't say, It's hard to sort the truth from lies when teaspoons of truth are being turned into tidal waves of fear. What I can say is this division is being done on purpose by despots and oligarchs to create justifications for power grabs, but this relies on our fear and cynicism for it to work. But all of this is just the story of any moment in our history. It's just much louder these days because social media keeps us glued to our phones. I can't just sit here and say, don't be afraid, so maybe a change in perspective will help. Did you know that Spain, Portugal, Greece, Argentina and Chile all broke the chains of right-wing authoritarian regimes in the 70s and 80s? And that really wasn't that long ago. The cycle is always the same. People get fearful, authoritarians promise safety, things go bad, but people push back and eventually the pendulum swings the other way. Now, there is a lot of good news out there and great things happening in the world right now. I can give you a few examples of some good news that have happened recently and some long-term news. Did you know that a new HIV drug has been developed called lenacapavir? I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is a twice-yearly injection which prevents 99.9% of infections, which will be available to the world as a generic version available in over 100 countries extremely cheaply. This is a huge breakthrough. It's based off rDNA technology, which was used to actually make vaccines for COVID, and this sort of technology could theoretically be used to treat a huge amount of illnesses. Did you know that not long ago, researchers in the UK's Aston University created a method that already uses existing technologies to transmit 402 terabits of data per second by using unused wavelength bands over fibre optic cable? We might not see the benefit of that for a while because it will mainly affect intercontinental data transmission at first. Did you know that Europe has just created its first exascale supercomputer, which is to be used to accelerate scientific research? In England and Wales, major crime categories have fallen by over 90% in the last 30 years. Life expectancy has gone up globally. In fact, since the 1900s, it's doubled, due to better healthcare, and there has been a massive decline in infant mortality rates. Education has gotten better due to ease of access, fueled partly by the internet. And in the US, over decades, the shape of the population with higher education has grown significantly. Apart from COVID being a bit of a blip in that. Poverty has dropped massively on a global scale. Women's rights and gender gaps continue to improve. Opportunity inequality has improved, with children born in the worst places now faring a much better chance at a better life. Cancer survival rates are climbing steadily, with heart disease-related deaths being halved since the 80s. We have legal recognition of same-sex marriage in most of the Western world. All these gains were not luck. They were built by us, by people working together and working hard for the betterment of humanity as a whole. But this means that we can keep building and keep making the world a better place. All the noise sowing division we see constantly on the news is talking about things happening on the world stage, and it always hits much harder than good news. Bad news always feels more impactful. Simply thinking that the world overall has improved in the last few decades probably won't be much comfort to those who have issues on their doorstep. Trust me, I know how this feels. It's hard not to focus on it. But what really helps me steer away from all these bad vibes, besides turning the news off, is just looking closer to home. Looking closer to the things around myself, as you can look at the things that are closer to yourself too. I never would have imagined that I would have such a nice social circle 10 years ago like I do today, and with the world seemingly getting smaller, it creates opportunity to get out there. I have been to a few conventions now, and I've met a lot of lifelong friends who I cherish and speak to every day. Our little corner of the internet as furries is full of positivity, and it's growing rapidly. I was told when I was growing up that school would be the best years of my life, but that's just not true for me, and I know it's not true for many others. This community is special. How many others can say they were dancing in a forest to DJ sets surrounded by friends a few weeks ago? How many can say that they put on a virtual reality headset and meet friends from the other side of the planet? We as furries are almost always on the forefront of technology, exploring how we can make our fandom better, forming connections and bringing it all together harmoniously. There's a lot of love and happiness out there. You just need to turn off the news and focus on what's in front of you sometimes, and feel gratitude for who and what is there, because that is what really matters. Not the constant droning of despots who want to divide us and keep us fearful. Tribalism is learned, but connections undoes it. Being in the furry fandom is of course not the solution. What I am saying is that this is more worth your focus. We spend more time than ever just glued to our phones and doom scrolling because these devices and methods of content delivery are designed to make us do that, to keep us engaged. Technology has gotten increasingly unfriendly in this manner as time has gone on. I also realise that not everyone has the luxury of going to cons and meeting people. I'm just using that as an example of alternatives, but the root cause is still social media being used to divide us. Their methods only work if we let it, if we forget all the good things that are out there. It only works if we become fearful of our neighbour, of the world, where we should be recognising that each of us is not some label, some tribe, right, left, whatever, that we are more than that, and that we are better than that. I'm not saying keep yourself in the dark either, but what I am saying is that you should refocus your attention. Before I end this video, I just want to quickly announce something, and that is I'm going to be streaming once again. My last year's charity stream was very successful, but part of me is always worried about keeping a group of people entertained for several hours in a row. I would like to try and have another shot at it, so keep an eye on my socials. I will be announcing something soon. I figure it would be better to try and fail than not try at all. You know, maybe what I stream could also brighten your day a little. If it's not obvious at this point, it's very hard for me to find time to make videos this last year due to a lot of reasons, some of which I may discuss in the future. For now, though, I will end this video and just say, I hope you all have a good day, and remember that the world might feel like it's slipping into a dark place, but it's happened before. History shows we have survived worse and built a better future as a result.